Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I got my lovely lady from up on the East Coast, my good friend Jodi Klaristenfeld. And I just there's 13 letters. We were joking off mic about, she went from a 4-letter last name into a long last name. But we're going to have a lot of fun with this. It's kind of heart tugging. I was, my whole story, which I've told, and a lot of the squad has reached out and really appreciate my story of my sister that was born preemie, passed away, and then me being adopted on what would have been her birthday. And me and Jodi just had a really nice, fun conversation. But Jodi is a mom to Jenna, an adorable little girl who was born at 28 weeks due to a rare and life-threatening form of I'm going to let Jodi say it, but I'm going to try it here. Preeclampsia. We'll get to let Jodi say it, but it's called HELLP Syndrome. After Jenna's early birth, Jodi quickly discovered preemie families aren't always given the support they need. An attorney by education from probably U of M, and everyone knows I'm a Sparty, but that's okay. Jodi now runs a family business in Manhattan. She is passionate about positivity, regularly meditating and exercising to keep her mind healthy and strong. Jodi created FLRRiSH, and it's a really cool little spelling of it. It's FLRRiSH, and I'll get to the origin of that with Jodi here in a minute. And she created FLRRiSH to be a light in the dark, a source of information and inspiration for preemie families, cutting out confusion, managing overwhelm, and offering unwavering support. Jodi, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is green.
Ooh.
Always has been. Maybe it's because I went to camp and one of the colors was green, and I'm a huge fan of going away to sleepaway camp. But also, I think it's the color of life and health and growth.
And Michigan State. This is going to be a fun conversation.
That is true.
I had to throw that in there.
I didn't even realize that.
I had to throw it in there, but no, it's green, it's growth, it's rebirth, for lack of a better term. Please, I would love to hear your story and also get to the kind of the feelings that you had and the emotions that you're kind of rocking through with this. But I just want the squad out there to hear this, please.
So my company is called FLRRiSH. It's a platform where we support, educate, and empower preemie and NICU families through their journey in the NICU and beyond. Now, when I say preemie and NICU, it's because sometimes babies are in the NICU, even though they're full term. And people don't realize that, but they might have some other forms of complications during birth. I created it because when I was in the NICU, I felt alone and scared and really confused. Mostly, I felt unsupported and I had nowhere to turn to go for help. I didn't have a friend that I could talk to that fully understood what I was going through. And then when I came home from the NICU, when my daughter came home from the NICU, I also didn't have anywhere to turn to, where to go and get help in terms of resources for her. What would my parenting journey look like and what would she need in order to grow and to thrive, especially during these first formative educational growth and developmental years of her life.
Right.
So I created what I felt was missing from my journey and put it all into a one-stop shop, so to speak, where parents can go to get resources for their children and for themselves. I teach people how to advocate for themselves. I don't think parents know that they can ask for their state for help and for all these services that their children might qualify for. And I support parents by coaching them and letting them know that they're not alone and that there's no shame in what they're feeling, because people are very quick to judge if your child, or if anyone for that matter, fits outside the box. And most people do fit outside the box, but somehow society dictates that we should all fit inside the box or check the box. And lastly, there are audio courses. They're little vignettes, stories about my NICU journey. They're all 3 to 5 minutes long that I picture some parents listening to while they're holding their children in the NICU, doing skin to skin, just listening again to success stories or some stories that were setbacks, just again, to make parents feel like they're not alone.
Wow. So I'm going to rewind you just a little bit right here, because you came home, you're sitting there like, what the WTF, right? You're like, dude, I'm alone here. All they're throwing at me is jargon, and you want your child to survive. Absolutely. But you felt alone. You got home and you're a driven person. I mean, you have a U of M education, which I joke about that, but I mean, if I had a kid, they would go to U of M over Sparty all day. But like, you have that, you're driven, attorney educated. When you got home and you just started digging in, is that what happened? And like, how you can help other people, and so they don't have those WTF moments? Or like,
No,
what was that switch?
It wasn't like that right away. At first, I was really fragile. I was healing from the preeclampsia and HELLP syndrome, and I was extremely fragile physically and mentally. I was also kind of upset and sad that I didn't have so many firsts with my daughter that most people get to have. And it was probably around maybe the 7 or 8 month mark that I realized how lucky and fortunate our story is, because I watched her grow and develop and learn skills. And I did that while picking her team of specialists. And I also knew at the time that while that was extremely overwhelming, that not everyone could do it, and that made me and Jenna very fortunate. So I knew I wanted to help families like myself, like my family, but I didn't know exactly what that looked like. And I also felt that I needed to take some time to fully get out of that first, I'll say, haze of navigating life out of the NICU to know exactly how I wanted to help other families. So it wasn't until about a little over a year ago that I created FLRRiSH. I took my time figuring out how I wanted to be able to help parents and what the best way to help parents is. But all the while I was formulating that, I was still going through my own ups and downs. And I think that's life in general. And I tell families all the time that those that get, a little rough start in the beginning, I feel like it will only serve them well as they go on in life and face challenges throughout the course of their life.
Wow. And what really support system outside of medical really showed up for you, if at all?
I'm not really sure, except I'll say that I have an awesome family. I have terrific friends. And my OB was the most, and still is, the most amazing man that there is. He saved our lives. He told my mom right after I gave birth that we wouldn't have made it through the night. My husband was in Europe for work because it was 12 weeks before. She was due. So, and he, the whole time, kept telling me, stay positive. Everything's going to be great. Give yourself some slack. Don't worry that you're not meeting this milestone, doing that. He was a wealth of support to me.
What a doctor. That's awesome.
Oh, yes. To this day, every time I see him, I cry.
That's amazing. And thank God for him. Is preeclampsia, how rare is that? And what exactly is that?
So I had HELLP syndrome, which is the extreme form of preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is more common than you think. It is high blood pressure. So when you're pregnant, right, your heart is beating for two people. And you're feeding another person. So your body and your organs are doing that much more work for rather than just for yourself. And then, and especially in the last trimester, that's where people are prone to preeclampsia the most. Because that's when the baby is growing the most and your blood vessels.
That, right?
Yes. Yes. And what I had was, so my blood pressure was around 190 over 150, which is near stroke level.
Wow.
But I also had HELLP syndrome, which is my liver was shutting down, my kidneys were shutting down, my hemoglobin, my platelets
All your
were at
vitals,
an,
man. Jeez.
yes, yes.
Wow.
They were giving me platelets as they were taking her. They didn't know if I'd have to have a hysterectomy.
Wow.
Fortunately, I did not have one,
Right.
because they didn't know if my blood would even clot.
Mm.
So I was then put on medicine, a magnesium drip for days, and hallucinating from that. So I didn't get to meet my daughter for a few days.
I
So
was
I
just gonna say
had,
like 3 or 4 days, right? That you weren't
yes.
able to meet her. Wow.
And quite frankly, I don't think I asked for her,
Right.
but most moms in my situation don't.
Okay.
I was like I said, I was hallucinating. I was going through so many things on my own that I had all to do just to get myself better,
Wow.
or somewhat better,
Right.
before being able to see her or ask for her.
I mean, you always come through the other side stronger. It had to have been a freaking nightmare, you know? It just almost like a hallucinating dream in a sense, because you're coming in and out of consciousness. You know you had a baby. You're in your peripheral, you're thinking, okay, they're in good hands. I'm in a great hospital, great doctor. But at the same time, that just had to have been scary. Let me ask you something. If are you like making up for firsts that you never had with Jenna? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it like extra stuff that, not like spoiling her? I'm not saying that, but there's a lot of firsts that were not able to have with her. Do you find
Yes.
yourself like making up for stuff in a sense?
I don't know if it's necessarily making up for anything. I
Okay.
will say that this whole experience has taught me to appreciate life in such a different way. So everything that she does, I'm always cheering her on. So is my husband. We're clapping her for her. We say, "Yay, Jenna, go, Jenna." We're so excited for her. And she has taken that on in her personality as
Good.
well.
That's
And
awesome.
it's really cute to watch her cheer her friends on, or
Oh,
celebrate her friends, or say,
wow.
"Good job, mommy. You did that really well."
Wow.
So I don't know necessarily if it's making up for it. It's
Mm.
just appreciating every little step, because in the
Wow.
aggregate, those are big steps.
It's huge. It's like everything is creating great memories, you know, with because you went through a nightmare. Sorry. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, you went
Mhm.
through a nightmare. So do people like when people hear about you, do they how does the whole process work? Because you're kind of a coach, you're kind of an advocate, you're kind of a consultant, you're like a coach, consultant, advocate, right? Like, tell me how the process works when people reach out to you.
Well, right now, it's basically just through referral that someone knows someone that has
Okay.
had a preemie baby. And certainly, I would always welcome that. My goal is to be affiliated with some nonprofits and also to be affiliated with some hospitals. And one day, especially where the mental health component comes in, which over 80% of both moms and dads experience some type of mental health um, issue after having had a child in the NICU. My goal one day, which is very lofty, is to have that covered by health insurance.
Mm. Yeah.
Parents right now are kind of left to their own devices and to figure out their own way of getting that support, because hospitals are not equipped to do it. The doctors and nurses, who are the most angelic and sweetest and amazing people in the whole world,
Mm.
are their job is to take care of the baby. And
Right.
there are plenty of babies in each hospital in the NICU. So their time is limited.
Sure.
And the social workers aren't necessarily equipped to deal with such perinatal mental health
Right.
situations
Right.
either. So
Oh
my
my gosh.
goal
I see
is,
such an opening here. I mean, the mental hygiene's huge. I do a lot with the VA, because I suffered from PTSD bad. I had 6 tours and whatnot. And luckily, my dad, who was a Vietnam vet, and I was Iraq, and he's just like, you gotta get help, dude. Because they wasn't here for him. Now it's here for vets to an extent. But that's just that you would think that hospitals would reach out to you and say, listen, we have this, we want to set up a program for people that are going through this. Can you, and advocate it. And
Quite
you hear
frankly,
that,
it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's very hard to pierce that wall through the hospital.
Right.
Just red tape. A lot of times they'll say HIPAA, and it has nothing to do with HIPAA.
Nothing. Right. Yeah.
But it's just something else infiltrating their system. And I try and explain, I'm not here to take anyone's job. I'm
Right.
here to offer support to people who desperately need it. And, the truth is, aside from them not being staffed, they also need to be able to bill it to someone, because the hospitals aren't necessarily have windfalls of money. They're not banks, even though all their fees for things are incredibly high.
Right.
It's the insurance companies.
Right.
So in order to, I think, as I do more research, in order to get into the hospital per se, to have it something that's recommended or suggested even, is to try and pierce through that mental health component of whether it's the Affordable Care Act or something inside the insurance system where it could become something that is quote unquote billable.
Right. And you think that the HIPAA is kind of veers off from the Hippocratic oath or whatever they make to make sure that they're providing the best service possible for all parties involved. That's man, we're going to push for you. If anybody out there that can help with this, a squad out there, please reach out to me, and I will definitely put you in touch, with my good friend Jodi here. So
thank you.
Jodi, let me ask you something. I want to talk a little bit about you as well. Okay. And have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Of course.
Right.
All three.
Right. So if you were to get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, which you're doing a lot right now, we're spearheading, we're in the gestation part of your company. But if you could get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly and go back to, we'll say, the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Jodi with a 4-letter last name, what knowledge nuggets might you drop on her about life? Not so much to change anything, because you lived a miracle, okay? But maybe to shorten a learning curve and level up through life.
I would say don't sweat the small stuff, and that have a thicker skin.
Ooh.
I think that's really important as women, and also I'll say, as someone who had a traumatic birth, my skin was kind of thin, and you have to be able to understand that people are always going to comment, people are always going to say something.
Thank you. And
to try and not let it affect me in the way that it has. So let me share a quick story. It was
Please.
Jenna was about 5 months old, and I was strolling her on the street with our baby nurse, and a woman came up to us on the street corner and said, "Oh, what a beautiful baby. How old is she?" 5 months. 5 months. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure.
Oh.
Well, are you feeding her? Because she's so tiny. Of course I'm feeding her, like literally. And my baby nurse literally took me by the back, put her hand around my back, strolled the stroller, and said, "Ma'am, she is as old as she is supposed to be." And we walked in a different direction than where we were going.
Right.
And it took every ounce of strength I had not to cry.
I'm not laughing at you, because I get that a lot, and I feel you.
It took every ounce not to cry. I mean, that's where I said I was fragile. I was still healing from what had just happened.
Right.
And I let this woman who I didn't even know affect me so much.
Right.
And our baby nurse was just like, "You don't owe anyone an explanation but yourself, Jenna, your husband, your family. That's it."
I love that advice from her, because I make 2 New Year's resolutions every year, right? Since 2009. And one is to make someone smile every single day, right? 2, unless I've hurt you, disrespected you, or stole from you, I give 0, what you think about it. You can say whatever you want, and I'm just going to shake your hand. And it's hard because, I'm 6'1", I'm 260. I'm pretty well put together, big dude, So people will say stuff and I just laugh and I get more respect from that. But it took a while. You come around,
Right.
you're like, bro, it game on. But let me answer something. How does Jodi want her dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date. Hopefully it's years down the line, but your life date and death date. How does Jodi want that dash remembered?
I think I just want to be remembered as a really good person who helped a lot of people on their journey to make it less difficult.
Wow. That's it in a nutshell, right? It's like you're literally what you're starting right now. You're planting trees that you're never going to sit in the shade of. You know what I'm saying? You're going to grow this big with help from the squad out there. You hearing me, squad? And also my resources that I have as well, whatever I can do to help. You're going to have people like that. And we're going to get you on every single podcast off of the podcasters that are, I'm not going to say my level because they're a lot higher than I am. But they were going to get you, your voice heard. So, Jodi, what do you think people misunderstand the most about you?
I think people most misunderstand when they tell me that I'm just a mom who has a story to tell. I think that's extremely disrespectful, and I have been told that on many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
I have an experience that is experienced by over 360,000 babies' parents every year, and that's not just me being a mom.
Right.
There are so many people that need support and need help, and you're underestimating the fact that this woman that's before you has a voice and she's going to use it to knock down the walls.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And they just have to deal with it because what you're doing is you're making the world a better place by knocking down those walls versus trying to stir the pot on something. There's no pot to be stirred. These people need freaking help. It's PTSD.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it is. I mean, it could be postpartum PTSD. I don't care what it is. It's still, a very traumatic thing that you go through. And I wish it on absolutely nobody. But the thing is there's no way, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that this will ever be cured because, you're going to have some people that might be out of shape having children and it becomes preemie, or you that's just like, what the heck? I have this HELLP, thing going on. You didn't really even know until the time. So it's never going to be healed. There's not like a pill you can take for it. It's going to come from all angles. And I love that you're an advocate for it.
The number of preemie babies is only growing in the United States every year. And we have the most preemie babies born of any first world country in the world.
Wow. You think a lot of that, any of it like is can be matched up with our health crisis? You know what I'm saying? It's like the 360,000 is a lot. I mean, we're also the fattest country in the world, right? And that's what this show is about, is leveling up. Okay. Do you think that if people maybe were more health conscious, they would help a little bit towards the 360,000? Like, you're an anomaly. You're fantastic, beautiful, great shape, right? Anomaly. But the other people, would it maybe lower that number if maybe people leveled up and were more health conscious?
I would say yes, but I would also say too, if you're not feeling well about certain things, whether you're pregnant or not, go to the doctor.
Okay.
Right. I think as a society, since health insurance or co-payments, things like that are so expensive, there's a large barrier to entry when it comes to getting help for yourself.
Yeah, right.
So I think that if people were more apt to go to the doctor for something, that maybe that could help with preventative.
Man, that's fantastic. That is perfect. That's perfectly said, because if we set it up to where it made it affordable for people to see a doctor for preventing, or
if someone knew they were high risk.
Yeah.
I mean, I checked one box for being high risk.
Right.
That's it. My age. Other than that, everything else, but anyone over 35 is considered high risk. So that's really like, that's a large part of the population.
Gotcha.
But my OB was treating me the whole time as if I was high risk.
Right.
I was taking baby aspirin. I was doing everything that I was supposed to be doing. So to some extent, it's not preventable. The only thing I can say is that, especially if you're pregnant and you're feeling just different. For the last 4 days of my pregnancy, didn't realize, because I'm a first-time mom.
Right.
I didn't realize that the things that I was feeling were warning signs.
Right. Okay.
So I would just say to moms out there, or even husbands to be, dads to be, that if your significant other, or if the woman, if it's you, if you aren't feeling well, or you notice all of a sudden a marked change while you're pregnant, go to the doctor.
Go to the doctor, man. Absolutely. Get out there and seek that professional help. So does anything keep you up at night?
Of course.
Right.
I mean, well, there's that saying, sleep like a baby. When I look at my daughter sleeping, it's amazing. Just like that, carefree, there's no worry on her face. I love it. I worry for her, of course,
Sure.
generally what the world is going to look like when she grows up, and that's a whole other story for another day.
Right.
But I also worry for her developmentally, and I think that's also a big impetus behind FLRRiSH, about all those services and being able to provide mental health services for parents, because people can be mean. And
Sure.
if you are different, or if your child is different, people say not nice things.
Absolutely.
And, I worry about her. Will she notice that maybe she's a little bit behind some of her friends? So I want to try and set her up for success. I worry about setting her up for success. And so everything I do is so that she is successful, putting her in the situations to help get her there.
Love it. It's such a big heart that you have, so what would Jodi's definition of a life well lived be?
Just being happy and healthy.
Okay.
Without that, what do you have?
Right. Tell me three things outside of family, water, food, air, like three things you could not live without.
I couldn't live without exercising.
Love it.
I think that's a great, it's a lifestyle. I don't think that it's, people say that it's going to be, a New Year's resolution, it's not. I think it's a lifestyle.
Right.
I think it's a lifestyle. So there's that. I'll say my friends, outside support than my
community,
regular
right?
support system. Yes. Find your own community. I think it's great to have those sounding boards.
Love it.
Out there. And I love also, I couldn't live without going to the beach and just the fresh air, or the salt air, feeling that on my face.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Those are my three things.
That's beautiful. My third is I'm a chicken wing snob. It's kind of like my third thing. I have to have chicken wings. But hey,
do you go to Anthony's?
Oh yeah. Yep. Anthony's for sure. Absolutely. They're really good. And I don't tell too many people about them. So, because they're so damn expensive and hard to get right now, so I can keep that as a secret. So don't listen to what she just said, Squad, if you're around here. But, Squad, we're going to take my good friend Jodi here through our leveling up lightning round, just as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors and affiliates. Time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and Jodi, because of the proximity of where your family lives, you and I will definitely hook up one day, even for a cup of coffee in downtown Gardens or something, and chat and see where we can strategize. And get you on a couple of radio stations down here to get your word out as well. But
that would be awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. But we'll talk about some of these questions. We might spend 15, 20 minutes in each one of them. But this one, the leveling up lightning round, you got 5 seconds with absolutely zero explanation. And they can all be answered that way.
Okay.
All right. You ready to level up?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Jodi, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Just to cut yourself some slack.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
meditating every day, taking time for myself.
Love this. So if you see me kind of walking into wherever we're meeting, or you see me just kind of walking around, I might be in my doldrums a little bit. Not like Fergie, something's wrong with him a little bit. What book might you hand me to level me up?
I don't know specifically what book, and it doesn't have to be a self-help book. I would tell you to go and read anything that would fill your cup or let your mind escape.
That's beautiful. That's a great answer. No one's ever said thank you for saying that. What's your most commonly used emoji when you text, if any?
Either the regular smile, because I also happen to smile a lot,
Okay.
or the kissy one.
Beautiful. Nicknames growing up?
TikTok, because my last name is maiden name was Talk, or Little Tick, because I have an older brother.
Love it. Love it. Little Tick. It's beautiful. Tell me some like a hidden talent or superpower that nobody knows about.
People probably don't know that I used to play really competitive tennis and that I was ranked when I was younger. I got free clothes and free rackets.
Beautiful.
And Nick Balaterri came to my house, wanted me to live there.
Wow.
But I think that competitive spirit even serves me well today.
Beautiful. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Monopoly.
Awesome. We could definitely be friends. What's the headline for your life? Quickly on that.
A happy woman that made a difference.
Beautiful. Go-to ice cream flavor.
Chocolate chip.
There's a sandwich named the Little Tick. Build that sandwich for me.
I'm going to take a page out of Zingerman's and make it like the Georgia Reuben.
There you go. Zingerman's in Ann Arbor, baby. I love it. Favorite, I think you might know the answer to this one, but favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time and or money to?
There's a couple of them, but I'll say hand to hold is the first one that comes to mind.
Beautiful. And last question, you can elaborate on this one, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
80s.
My girl, there you go. I love it. It's like so transformational. It's funny, like today, Jodi, like songs that you hear, like Pitbull, like his song has the hook from Aha's Take on Me. Like you hear the songs, they have the hooks from our songs from that day, and like rap, was kind of not invented, but really got big with Run DMC, Beastie Boys. And you had the Invasions from U2 and Duran Duran and Men at Work. Yeah, it's just the best decade to me.
I don't think bands today I necessarily have to have the skill set the way those bands did.
You're 100% right.
Right, because there's so much electronics that's infiltrated into that those bands had, not saying that other people today don't have talent, but those bands had to rely on real playing instrument talent.
Right, absolutely. And also like lyric writing from the 70s, to me, that's like kind of the decade of you can understand the lyrics and hear them. And the 80s just kind of added music to it with the instruments with people actually playing them. Which
I will say I think Eminem is a good lyricist. Only insofar if you actually listen to his music, I don't know anything that's current, but from a while ago, if you listen to the lyrics, they make a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
It's just that he says it so quickly and in a way you can't always understand it. But yes, I think lyricists and like poetry, all that kind of stuff.
I love that you brought our homie up, with that. And, like Eminem used to come into Woodbridge Tavern. I used to bounce there in downtown Detroit back in the day. He used to come in, we're the same age. He used to come in and just get up and like open mic night. So I knew him then. And like Kid Rock used to come in there. Bare Naked Ladies used to come over. The band Bare Naked Ladies used to come over from Canada and play there and stuff like that. And I got to know him a little bit. And he was in Jupiter, Florida with Kid Rock, because Kid Rock lives here. Right.
Oh, really?
They were in there. And I knew Kid because I worked a little security for him. So it was kind of cool to like see those guys, hanging out and just seeing, that they're, like you're right. Eminem wrote he still writes, and they make sense. And he's one of the lyricists that can find a rhyme for orange, right? So tell me how we can find you.
People can find me online at www.flourish.com, FLRRISH. All social media at Flourish, and they can email me at hello@flourish.com. at FLRRiSH, FLRRISH.com.
Love it. I love it. And all of that will be in the show notes. And do me one last solid, because we went a little longer, squad. I know you're staying with me because the story was absolutely fantastic and got me glued in. But if you can leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
That everyone's growth and development is different, regardless of how you were born or your education or anything in life. Everyone's growth and trajectory is different, and that there is nothing wrong with that.
I love that. And squad, we just had a heartstring tugging, funny, it's just a beautiful conversation with my good friend Jodi here. And make sure that you look in the show notes for how FLRRiSH is spelled, because I'm going to have a link to her website there. If there's anybody out here that can really support the cause on this, get with me. And I'm going to reach out to my Palm Beach connections as well. So we're going to try to see what we can have here. But, you know, Jodi really has a heart to support and educate preemie families. You know, she felt alone, scared, confused, unsupported during and after her situation. She's just kind of sent home, like, kind of, I guess, like the troops are kind of sent home. Say, here's life, dude, go do it. You know, she is setting up a one-stop shop for parents to have resources and how to advocate for themselves, because people don't know how to do something. They stick their head in the sand, they pop their head out. Guess what? The same shit's still going on. She's getting it set up as an advocate to be able to reach out to governments, medical, whatever, to really get this known. It's a PTSD, okay? So you can coach them in her own little way and let them know that they're not alone. But we need more help out there, people. You know, that you have, like, if you do have a preemie, celebrate and appreciate them in their own way, that cheer them on. And passion of what I love to hear that Jodi said is that Jenna actually cheers other people on because she's getting that from her parents. I love that. You know, Jodi has a goal to be affiliated with nonprofits, hospitals, anybody out there that can move that tachometer, you know, towards success for getting these people. There's 360,000 preemies born in the United States, people. That's way too many. You know, the mental hygiene has got to be set out there for the parents as well to learn how to deal with that. She reminds us not to sweat the small stuff, to grow that thick skin, to disregard the negative. You know, she will be remembered as a really good person. I said it before, but she's planting trees. She's probably never going to sit in the shade because she's going to see it through to her, you know, time on earth ends, but it'll be picked up, the baton be taken. I can see Jenna even maybe grabbing that baton and helping out as a little bit as well, and she will be remembered as the voice that knocked down the walls of adversity towards the preemie and the NICU situation. She reminds you to cut yourself some slack, and that lastly, everybody's growth is different and they develop differently. We must respect people, love each other. There's no problem in hugging people. You know, it's just telling them it's going to be okay. You're perfect. You might have stuff to work on, but we all freaking do. We're never going to reach perfection, people. But if we strive for perfection, we'll hit greatness. And that is a fun life with great memories. And that's what my good friend Jodi has. She levels up her health. She levels up her wealth. She has a huge heart. She's beautiful, humble, hungry. So blessed. You earned your varsity letter here at Time to Shine today.
Thank you
so much for coming on. Absolutely love your guts.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I do hope to meet you in person when I'm down in Florida.
Without a doubt. We'll chat soon. Okay, Jodi.
Okay. Bye.